Ismael Zambada Siqueiros, alias el Mayito Flaco, fue designado por la Administración para el Control de Drogas estadounidense como el fugitivo de la semana. Este hombre es evidentemente hijo de María del Refugio Siqueiros Aispuro y de Ismael El Mayo Zambada, socio fundador
The
del...
shadow tries to close in around a fierce jaguar ready to fight back. One of the ruthless leaders of the Sinaloa Cartel, the infamous El Mayito Flaco, son of the terrifying Ismael El Mayo Zambada, has come into conflict with the sons of another faction within the Sinaloa Cartel, Los Chapitos. Like a shadow, El Mayito stalks just out of sight of those he targets. His shrewd tactical knowledge and planning skills allow him to take on many tasks with ease and grace. He plans around problems and executes goals without raising attention to himself. This is a far cry from other leaders and factions of the Sinaloa Cartel, who prefer brute force to strong-arm their way toward their goals. This approach often stirs trouble for them. The Chapitos are ruthless criminals. Despite their lack of subtlety, they get what they want. Much like their father, they are filled with power and are willing to enact hell on anyone who stands in their way. After El Chapo's arrest, the Sinaloa gang fell into disarray. Many internal factions either splintered off or lost the glue that bound them together. For the Chapitos, this was unacceptable. As successors to El Chapo, they needed to find and hammer down any nail that stuck out. This ensured no one would get in the way of the greater gang. However, Mayito is deeply entrenched in the cartel's old structure. With the Chapitos trying to seize control, their power was at risk. Internal conflicts erupted between the Chapitos and Mayito's faction. Systematic attacks on both sides escalated into an all-out internal war within the cartel. El Mayito is the spider of the Sinaloa Cartel. He is cunning and smart. Like a spider, he spins a web with precision and intention. When he acts, it is always toward a larger goal. His power does not come from raw strength, but from deceit and intelligence. Mayito has spun a network of collaborators and loyal allies. These include Rafael El Mono Antrax, a fierce and terrifying leader of the Los Antrax security wing. Known as the Antrax Monkey, his nickname suggests his cruelty. He serves as El Mayo's security force and leads his League of Assassins. Another key ally is Jose El Flaco Angel Rivera, a shadowy second-hand figure guiding logistics for the entire Sinaloa Cartel. With allies like these, no one should be able to threaten El Mayo and his associates. However, when the sons of their boss return to reclaim what they believe belongs to them, Mayito and his friends came into conflict with Los Chapitos. After El Chapo's arrest, the vestiges of his reign remained. Los Chapitos, his four sons. Ivan Archivaldo, known as El Chapito, is the brash and ruthless leader of the Chapitos. He spearheaded efforts to assert control over the cartel, taking charge of trafficking cocaine and fentanyl. His style reflects his wild and dangerous personality. Jesus Alfredo, or Alfredillo, is the second in command and one of the highest-ranking figures in the cartel. He is on the DEA's most wanted list and faces multiple indictments. The other two brothers, El Raton and El Güero, are also powerful and influential. They play supporting roles, overseeing logistics, production, and distribution. Together, these brothers have consolidated a vast portion of the cartel under one banner. Their father's legacy convinces members to trust and believe in their leadership. Combined with their cunning, they leverage this power to expand operations for one of the most potent drugs on the market, fentanyl. Their aggressive production of synthetic drugs has fueled the fentanyl epidemic in the United States. Thousands die annually from fentanyl overdoses due to the drug's potency. The four brothers represent a younger, more volatile, and brash generation of leadership. This starkly contrasts with the older leaders who aim for discretion and secrecy. Skirmishes between the old and new guard erupted in places like Culiacan and other Sinaloan strongholds. These conflicts are fueled by disputes over territory, trafficking routes, and concerns that the Chapitos aim to subsume La Mayiza into their faction. La Mayiza cannot let the Chapitos get away with their actions. Systematic attacks and gang wars are their way of fighting back. However, there must be a final solution. If the Chapitos die, their faction loses leadership. La Mayiza could then swoop in and reclaim control. This became their strategy, to send hitmen to eliminate the Chapitos one by one. Despite their efforts, La Mayiza began to lose men. The fighting disillusioned many and killed the zeal they once had. They weren't fighting rival gang members. They were fighting people who used to be friends and family. The escalating violence made it clear that the gang they risked their lives for was actively trying to kill them. With all this internal conflict, El Mayo, the previous leader of La Mayiza, was arrested. This left his son to pick up the slack. Most members didn't care for Mayito. This created a vacuum of power and loyalty within La Mayiza. Many asked themselves why they should fight and die for a leader they didn't care about instead of their true leader. This uncertainty caused many to desert the cartel. Additionally, the conflict drew significant attention from the authorities. The infighting exposed the cartel and made it vulnerable to law enforcement. The DEA and Sedena were ready to crack down on the weakened cartel. Members of La Mayiza faced multiple threats: death in the internal conflict, arrest by law enforcement, kidnapping and torture by rival factions, and the usual dangers of cartel life. Seeing this chaos, rival gangs like CJNG and even the Chapitos offered greater pay and promises of more safety and stability. These incentives further fueled the desertions. The mass desertion included smugglers, producers, hitmen, on-the-ground operatives, and everyone in between. The desertions gutted La Mayiza like a crab, leaving them vulnerable. Much like a crab, the Chapitos now dine on the soft white flesh of La Mayiza. While the faction hasn't been entirely defeated yet, the writing is on the wall. La Mayiza has lost the war. The downfall of La Mayiza is a tale of hubris and chaos, where loyalty dissolved in the fires of ambition and betrayal. El Mayito Flaco, with his cunning and vast web of alliances, once seemed untouchable. His spider-like precision and strategic prowess, however, proved no match for the brute force and relentless hunger of Los Chapitos, the successors to El Chapo's empire. The Chapitos, armed with their father's legacy and a ruthless drive to control the cartel, exploited every crack in La Mayiza's foundation. Their aggressive expansion and willingness to bring chaos to the Sinaloa Cartel left Mayito's faction reeling, unable to stem the tide of desertion and infighting. Hitmen, once the backbone of La Mayiza, fled in fear or frustration, unwilling to die for a leader they no longer believed in. Rival cartels and factions pounced on the weakness, offering refuge and rewards to disillusioned operatives. What remains of La Mayiza is a husk of its former self, a tragic reminder of how even the most intricate webs can unravel under pressure. As Los Chapitos tighten their grip, it's clear that the old guard of the Sinaloa Cartel is fading, leaving a new, more chaotic generation in its wake. For Mayito Flaco, the war is lost, and the once feared shadow he cast has been consumed by the storm of change.